and welcome to Mizo Tarot's Tarot Teachings video series. It's volume 3, all about the court cards. I've actually broken this down into 2 separate 1-hour lessons because there's so much to go through that I thought it would be best if we just take our time and go through as many different factors as possible. The court cards are often where most tarot readers get stuck. They don't know what they mean, or they can't think of the personality of the card, and you know, and they have multiple meanings as well. So because they can represent ourselves, they can represent other people in our lives, they can represent how we reacted to a situation, how other people are acting right now, and it doesn't necessarily correlate with male-female. So if there's a older man that's acting like a little baby, he might show up as Page of Cups in reverse, right? So very emotional, or emotional swing right now. So we'll get right into it. They all represent as well different astrological signs, and what we're going to be focusing on today are the 2 suits, Swords and Pentacles. So we're going to go through the Queen, King, Page, and Knight for each one of those suits. And then in the second video, we'll go through the Swords and the Wands. And we're going to learn a whole bunch, okay? So you might want to take your deck out right now, pause the video, and grab your Pentacles and Swords cards so that you can concentrate on them while we're doing this lesson. Okay, are you back? Great. Okay, so when we're doing a reading and the court cards come up, this is always generally related to what's going on in that person's life, right? So if it comes up in, I'm going to do a Celtic, I'm going to think about in the realm of a Celtic cross, which is going to be the next lessons after the court cards. So we're going to go through the whole Celtic cross. It will probably be a 2-part series as well, because I have a lot to say about the Celtic cross too, and how you can get super accurate readings out of them. I'm always told that I'm very accurate, and it's because I ask a lot of questions, right? So let's see here. Let's go. Okay, so when a court card comes up in the, I'm actually gonna, when it comes up in the Celtic cross, I'm just gonna do a quick thing here. Past, and I always do 3 for the outcome for the Celtic cross. So you're going to learn a little bit here about everything. What goes on here when it's right here in this position, the very first card, this is the first card. And I call that the snapshot of where that person's at right now. So if the court card comes up in that position, and it is a Page of Swords, right now they're super curious, or they're thinking of their daughter, so, or a younger female, but it doesn't necessarily have to correlate that way. So you have to use your instinct quite a bit with these cards. A couple of key questions you can ask when things come up, especially in this position in the first card, is are you a X, Y, or Z star sign related to each one of these suits, right? So, or is somebody close to you an X, Y, or Z star sign? Or have you been acting this way? And the Page of Swords is a very, very curious girl. that ask so many questions that, you know those people that are always inquisitive, that always want the answer and they're not happy until they find it, right? So you just ask your client. It's the easiest and best way. And if you're right on the first question, that's great. If you're not, then you ask, is someone close to you this astrological sign? And then if that's a no, then you go to, have you been acting this way? Are you super curious right now? Has your partner been acting in this way? Or if none of those relate, it's you have to be starting to act this way. You have to start asking more questions about what's going on in your life, right? So, and the other thing with these court cards is that they're not always related to gender. So the female might be coming up, and it could be an older man that's acting this way, just being too curious or needing to know stuff that they don't need to know, like a nosy dad or something, right? So you just move on to that. Now, your intuition will offer you more insight than anything else, right? So this is where you really have to get connected to your cards and really know, like, so when a court card comes up, what's your first gut reaction to it? Is it, this is about themselves? Is it, this is their daughter? Is it, this is a younger person they work with? Is it, you have to judge that by knowing yourself. Now, if the court card comes up in the near future, which is this card here, it could mean that they have not, or kind of what's coming in is over here as well. If that card, the court cards come up in those positions, that's usually meaning that they haven't even met this person yet. It's somebody new that comes into their life. And then you have to gauge again whether these people are going to be good for them or not, or what they need to know. And there's ways around knowing that, but I'm going to get into that in the Celtic Cross teachings, okay? So you have to ask your spirit guides, and what I do when I do readings, especially when I'm going to like a fair or when I know I'm doing multiple readings in a day, but I ask it before every single reading I do, is please, to my angels, guides, and spirit guides, please give me the best knowledge so that I can give them the best advice for the highest and best use for everybody involved in all the situations. Because, and I call in their guides so that they can guide me too, right? Okay. So, especially if there's stuff coming up in the future, you want to know, it could be a bad business deal, a good business deal, people that represent different things. You have to ask more questions. What I'm going to go into now is we're going to do a description of the court cards. So, general meanings of kings. They represent our fathers, bosses, uncles, big brothers, people that are close to us, people in our lives that are in a position of authority, or someone older than us, right? So kings generally mean people of a certain age bracket, so, but not necessarily true. It could be a younger guy that's very stern and wise for his age or something, right? So that is part of that as well. Queens usually represent our mothers, big sisters, person close to us, boss, again, co-workers, friends, you know, all of these things. But they're generally speaking, when queens come into our readings for us, they're usually people that are older than us. Just so that we as the reader have a little bit of a gauge as to who we're talking about. When it's a sister and both ladies are, let's say both ladies are both, like, you know, in their 50s or something, they'll both come up as queens. So you'll know it's someone right around their age or someone in their age bracket. Pages also represent messages that we're waiting for. So pages, when they come up as court cards, and the court cards come up in our readings, they don't always necessarily mean that there's a person coming up. It means that there's a solution to our question, that we receive an answer, we get a message in the mail, we receive that phone call that's supposed to come about money or whatever it is. But it also represents the younger people in our lives. So this is the daughters, nieces, younger sisters, girlfriends, you know, all of those, and all of those, the whole realm. Use your imagination. You know, relationships are tough anyways. And you have to remember that people have many different kind of relationships, so you have to gauge how they feel. So if you pulled one of these cards and the person says, no, I don't have any younger sisters, or no, I don't have a daughter, then it has to be about a message of relating to whatever the cards are. The knights are the younger men in our lives, our brothers, sons, younger friends, boyfriends, close family members, and they're generally speaking, and the pages as well, generally speaking, I kind of get a number that pops into my head, and I'm generally on the mark with it. So if I'm doing a reading and I keep on hearing 17, 17, I'll just say, is she 17? And usually they say, close, you know, or it is 17. Yeah, she is. How did you know? I don't know. It just popped into my head, right? So follow those gut instincts, because that's what's going to really make you a great reader. I'm going to start with the swords. Swords are all about our intellect, logic, thoughts, and sometimes what we're most afraid of. Each suit has their very own personality and positive and negative traits. So the beginning description that I'm going to go through here kind of relates to all four sword cards, right? And I kind of think of the pages and knights as like they're growing into the kings and queens, right? So they have similar traits because they're growing into those kings and queens, but they're maybe a little unsure at this point of exactly who they are, what's going on. You remember when you were a teenager and things were a little bit too confusing for you or what have you, and you just you need time to grow. That's all it is, right? You're expanding and growing. The astrological signs that are related to swords are Aquarius, Libra, and Gemini. And these are all air signs. So they're related to the air, intelligence, thoughts. Generally speaking, all of these people are very intelligent, excellent communicators, logical, and you know, they're not, generally speaking, they're not so practical. And the downfall is that you have to be careful of the double-edged sword, right? That's what I always say about the swords, is there's always two sides to it. Now, and also Libras, I'm a Libra, so this the Queen of Swords is me, and the downfall is that their words hurt when they speak in anger, or sometimes we Librans just can't stand stupid people around. So, you know, and other words, that those things happen because we just don't have the tolerance or patience for people that haven't done research or read a book or done things to improve themselves, because we're really researchers. We like to know things, and we will search until the end of time to find those things out, because there is a logical reason for it, because we know in our brains that yes, there is a solution to this. We don't have to sit here and brood over whatever it is. So the other thing is about the swords. They're generally speaking pretty detached and objective. So, and Libras do get emotional. We do get emotional. I'm by no sense of the words an expert on astrological signs, and you will know this after, but I'll try my best to relate what I know about the signs that I do know. So when we get into situations that are as a sword, so this could be anybody, it doesn't necessarily have to be an Aquarius, Libra, or Gemini. It can be anybody. And just for our records, Aquarius is from January 20th to February 18th. Libra is September 23rd to October 22nd. Gemini is May 21st to June 20th. And then I'll move on here. So when people that are swords come up in the readings, and maybe it comes up in the reverse, it means that they're speaking harsh words. And usually those words cut deep into that person's psyche, right? Into the receiver's psyche. So that's about that sword. It's so double-edged. It cuts through anything and everything in there. And I find that there's actually a lot of entrepreneurs in the swords. So if you can relate the cards to somebody you know, right? So if you think of the swords, the Queen of Swords there, if you think of her, you can think of me. And I'd like to think I'm very intelligent. And, you know, and the other thing that I always think of when I look at this card is that she stands up for herself. She's ready to defend whenever. That's why she's got her sword handy and right there, and it looks like it's ready to be used, right? The entrepreneurs that I find in the swords, even male and for the queens, they usually have their own businesses or a small side business and a deep sense of integrity. Their reputation is very important to them. They work hard at it. They want to be seen as somebody that's good and well respected in the community as well, right? So the queen, to get on with the more meanings for the queen, I gotta watch the time here because I think I'm gonna run over even with just the 8 cards. So there's 16 in total. The Queen of Swords is my card. She's a problem solver. So these people can think outside of the box for anybody. They can look at a situation and decipher exactly what's going on. And that's actually one of my skills, right? So when people come to me for readings, I find a lot of entrepreneurs come to me, and a lot of them are Libras, but for some reason, Queen of Swords, we can't seem to decipher our own issues out. We have to go to somebody else. So they come to me for a problem solver, and they go to us for sticky advice, like, you know, sticky situations, advice on those things that they're stuck on, right? Because we can think outside of the box, and this queen has been through the ringer a few times. We've gone through just about everything, and we've gone through the school of hard knocks, and we tend to read and research on it so that we can fix the issue, because we don't want to keep on going back, even though we have to learn our lesson. So we will go back as many times as we have to. I've found that especially when you go out to, let's say, I used to find when I went out to the pub, I don't do that anymore really, that people, strangers, will come up and talk to the Queen of Swords about just about anything. They tell them their deepest, darkest secrets, and because they know that they'll keep the secret, right? And they know that intuitively those people that are telling their deep, dark secrets, they always say, I don't know why I'm telling you this, but I just feel compelled to, because I feel like you have the answer. So they let those Queens of Swords know their issues, hoping that they can direct them on the right path, or maybe have an idea that they haven't had before. Just about that outside of the box thinking. There's always a solution, and most of the time the Queen of Swords is happy to help. If reversed, this Queen can be very harsh, mean, and her words can strike straight through the heart, and most times it's on purpose because we logically know what will hurt somebody. It's also too, but we're such quick thinkers that things just pop out sometimes. Also, when it comes up in reverse, it means that people are thinking too emotionally rather than logically. They need to straighten up and smarten up and get their eye on the prize, so to speak. So, that's that one. I'm going to put her there. Okay, so next one, King of Swords. And the King of Swords. Now, how I relate these cards, I'm going to give you a little tip here. How I relate these cards, I have a friend that is a Libra male that's a very strong figure in his community. He's an entrepreneur, and he is exactly like this guy. So if you can try to relate your cards to somebody in your life, and they're the same star sign as the card, so whether it be a friend or a father, it's also my dad, the King of Swords is also my dad. He's an Aquarius, right? So I think of, and there's different personalities to a Libra male and an Aquarius male. And I'm sure there's a difference in Geminis, but I don't know very many Geminis. But the whole thing is that they like balance. They like their homes. They work hard. They're highly intellectual, and they don't screw around when it comes to any kind of issue in their lives, and they don't have time for emotional people. So like my father, for example, if I go to him crying about something, which I've done because I'm a Libra and I get all emotional sometimes, and I've cried to him, he goes, what are you doing? He looks at me like I've got the plague, right? So think of that when the King of Swords arrives in a reading, right? You know that they have no patience for emotional outbursts. They have no patience for things that they feel that are unjust. They expect and demand the best from everybody around them. They don't like slackers. They want people to be working hard, and the other thing is that they usually look out for their best and their own highest interests all the time, which is a good thing for that person, not always great for the people around them. King of Swords are very good people to be around, right? But they don't really have the sympathy or the heart to, if you're having a hard time or a difficult time, they would just look at you and say, change it. Nothing was given to me on a platter, which is true, right? you can't sit around complaining to the King of Swords saying, oh, my life isn't going good. And they're like, well, nothing was, I had to work for what I've got, and look at what I've got. I've built myself a nice home. I've got a good job. I'm the boss. They're generally bosses as well, King of Swords, because they're very efficient in what they do, and they're highly intelligent. In reverse, this king can be super demanding, very judgmental, and uses intelligence to make himself like bolster his pride, right? So sometimes it means that they put other people down so that they look better. So that's the reverse meaning, right? And it's super judgmental, like the guy I mentioned before that's a Libra. He can't stand anybody that's on welfare and stuff. Why can't they just get a goddamn job, you know? You think of those kind of type of people. So when those things come up, you have to relate these cards to people that are in your life so that you can easily remember who it is. Then you can describe what those people in your life would do to your client, and that client will say, yes, I know exactly who you're talking about, right? Yeah, and the other thing too is if the King card comes up in reverse, they sometimes, these guys can like try to make themselves look better to further their career in a kind of sneaky way. So if that comes up on an issue that's like related to work, and a King of Swords comes up in reverse that's around your client, you have to tell them, hey, that King of Swords isn't really telling the whole truth here, right? All of those things. Page of Swords. She is a very, very curious girl indeed. Now, since this is, she is just waiting for answers, and she can't wait. She's like hopping at the bit just to make, she wants those answers, and she wants to know everything. If this comes up as for, like, let's say a little 5-year-old girl, this is like somebody's daughter. This is a girl that just keeps on asking, why is the sky blue? Why is the grass green? Why can't I do this? Can we do this? Can I make that? Can I do this? Forever asking questions, right? What is the color blue? Why is this, that, whatever, you know? The one thing is about these pages of swords, they're usually very, very smart girls. They're looking for all the answers. They're very good in school if and only if they're focused. Now, they're very smart, but they tend to get bored. So when I was in high school, I was in the advanced classes, but I would skip out all the time, so I wouldn't go. My grades weren't great for the first part of high school, but by the end, I actually got on track, and then I ended up on the honor roll. But I needed an incentive, and my father, who is a King of Swords, thought, you know, well, the only way that she's going to do it, he cut straight to the heart of the matter and said the only way she's going to focus is if I offer her something. So he offered me a new pair of shoes every time I made it on the honor roll. And then I made it, because I'm smart, because he didn't put a budget limit on it, I made it a $150 pair of shoes every time I went on the honor roll. So it was actually worth it for me to work for it. So if she's not focused, and she can start like many different projects and never finish any of them, right? So that's a little bit of the downside of it. But if she's totally focused, she can be a master at many things. Very good. Usually they're creative. They like to draw, paint, write, you know, play guitar, all of those things, but you know, they have to have that incentive to move forward. And they are so curious about why things happen, and they want a solution, and they won't stop until they find the answer. If reversed, this page is trying to find out more than she needs to. So being nosy Nelly, pushing a situation to see the results, which sometimes causes things to go badly. So an example of that is if there's a Page of Swords, imagine a teenage Page of Swords, and she's just got a new boyfriend, and she is curious as to what this young man is doing, right? Why aren't you around? Why aren't you doing this? Why aren't you doing that? What are you doing? What are you up to? You know, all of those questions is going to drive any teenage boy absolutely crazy, and he might have been going to buy her a gift, but then because of all her questions, he just breaks up with her. And that's that, right? So the saying curiosity kills the cat comes to mind when I see this card. And especially too, the other one, if it comes up in reverse, could be a secret leaker. That's what I call it, a secret leaker. So you don't want to be trusting her with any secrets. And, you know, sometimes people confide in the Queen of Swords, like I told you, about all sorts of things. But if it's a young girl and it's in reverse, she's not keeping her secrets, right? So whether it be an older lady, queen, that's you've told something to and this comes up, it means that she's not, she's letting everybody know. So you might not want to tell anybody a secret, you know, that you don't want out there to be in general knowledge, okay? So we're going to go on to the Knight of Swords. The Knight of Swords, the pages also represent messages, right? So this can be an intellectual idea. So if the person that you're doing a reading for, whether it be yourself or somebody else, when that comes in and they don't know anybody that's younger than them, they don't have any relations of that, you know, there's no daughter, friend, anybody, they don't know anybody of that astrological sign. They say, no, no, no. It's a message. It's just simply a message that you will get the idea to solve your problem or calm your mind. Or if it's in reverse, it's about think logically right now. Cut out the emotional part. Those things. Think along those lines. Okay, Knight of Swords. Knight of Swords. This guy is full of electric energy. He comes brandishing in with his sword. He's ready to fight, and they are ready to roll. I often think of this card as if somebody comes to visit you over land because he's on his horse. So when this comes in, I always ask if there's a younger man that the person knows, and there might be a visitor coming knocking at your door. They usually show up without little or next to no notice. And they just say, hey, I'm in town for a visit. Or, you know, it's a friend that pops by unexpectedly, or all of those kinds of things. They fly into our lives without notice, and they leave just as fast. So, and they're willing to fight all the time. This is the thing with all of these swords. We're always ready to stand up for what we believe in. So if you have a person that isn't a Libra, Aquarius, or a Gemini, and they're in a situation where they need to stand up for themselves and a sword has come in, that's what it means. They need to stand up for themselves. They need to think logically and clearly right now and stand up for themselves and be the people that are intelligent, right? Don't let people walk all over you. That's the other thing for these. Knights, I often think of them as well, that they deliver messages. Same kind of deal as the pages. So especially true when I see the Knight of Pentacles, but I'll go on to that later. But this guy is usually a message of either travel for short trips, or you will receive your solution or idea. They are willing to stand up for what they believe in. Sometimes they'll just start a debate just for the fun of it. They might not even really resonate with the stand that they're putting in there, but it's just because they're so smart that they're just smarty go to the party, and they just want to encourage you. Well, you know, what about this? What about that? And, you know, they want to be the smart one in front of the crowd, right? And this is another one that you don't want to go to this young guy crying. He won't have any sympathy. He's grown into the King of Swords, right? They have a ton of confidence. They usually, you know, they're really happy with, if it's a teenage guy and he's just started a new job, you know, he's one of those guys that are the best at what he does. They're generally very athletic as well. In the reverse, this is the extreme. They can lie, cheat, and simply put everybody down just to make themselves feel better. So now that's a little bit related to the King of Swords, when they can put people down a little bit to make themselves look better or feel better. But the Knight, he hasn't gotten the grasp of all of his wits yet, right? So they are sometimes very verbally abusive, to the point where others around him might just say, you know what, I've had enough of you, I'll see you later. Just to make himself look better. Like the fish is always way bigger than it actually was. The job is always way bigger than it was. His scores are always better on that test than what, you know, you get my point, right? When this card comes up in readings in relation to relationships or work, I often say it's just going to be a short-term relationship or a short-term work. And if you don't want this energy flying into your life and then flying back out, what can you do to stop it? Look for something more, you know, calm to start off with there, right? All right. So now, okay, we're going to go on to Pentacles. Pentacles are all about health and money, right? So what this is related to is the earth signs, okay? So they are practical and down-to-earth people. Pentacle earth signs are related to the astrological signs Taurus, Virgo, and Capricorn. So Taurus is April 20th to May 20th. Virgos are August 23rd to September 22nd. Capricorn is December 22nd to January 19th. Now, earth sign people are, earth is related to wealth and health. So to get healthy, you want to be outdoors, and to gain wealth, you want to be outdoors, related to the earth. So these people are generally very concerned with their health. They're very concerned with their work and their security. Their mind works best when both are balanced. So they're happiest at home with close friends or family. The Pentacle court cards have very few people that they call true friends. They are very loyal and work hard for their businesses or their employers, right? So their downfalls is that they're a bit controlling, very demanding at times. They want their way or the highway. They are always right about everything. They always know best, better than anybody else, because you don't know what you're talking about, even if you've done the research. So they resist change in all ways. These are people that stay in jobs for like 20 years. They want to just know about what's going on for their jobs. They want security is what they want, right? They resist the change in many, many ways, and it makes it difficult for others to try new things around them. So I have actually the Queen of Pentacles is my stepmother. Now, these Queens of Pentacles, man, I wish I was one sometimes, because they have the follow through, they have everything under control at all times, and they bake, they have the cleanest house, they have, you know, but they do sometimes have the mood swings where they go absolutely crazy. So they're good 99% of the time, but that 1% that you feel like they've just gone off their rocker. So, Queen of Pentacles. So, now my stepmother's a Virgo, so I relate this to Virgos. Virgos are super efficient. The Queen of Pentacles love their lists. They are actually chained to their lists. There's got to be always something to do, right? There's always, my stepmother has a list a mile long of things. I don't know how people find time for TV, she says. You know, they're always baking, cleaning her house. You could eat off the floor. They're very, very responsible. They're good at savings. They're good at bookkeeping. They're very super efficient. These ladies are equally as good as at business or at home. They make good bookkeepers, accountants. They have everything going, the perfect garden, home-cooked meals, and they work full-time. They raise their kids. They seem to have it all, right? They like schedules, and they adhere to it. I'm telling you, so if you ask a Queen of Pentacles to go out on a certain date 3 weeks in advance, they will remember, whereas the Queen of Swords might forget. So, in reverse, they get so involved in their to-do lists that there's no time to enjoy life, which kind of sucks, right? They need to be a little more flexible, so their inflexibility kind of rules the roost there. A lot of the times, other people's feelings or issues just don't matter. They're busy, they don't have time for it, they don't want to hear you whine. So my father, with his lack of emotional sensitivity, let's call it, and my stepmother's Queen of Pentacles, with her, you know, not wanting to get too emotional either, like just sticking to the list, it's a perfect match. Sometimes too, Queen of Pentacles really, really like to have their material items, right? So they like to shop. They're sometimes those shopaholics. They try to buy their happiness with things, right? Because of the fact that they don't get the time to relax because they're too busy doing their lists. They just go shopping and they try to buy things that get that retail therapy, right? Or the opposite. They can be so cheap that they won't spend a dime anywhere at all on anything, right? So, you know, lack of flexibility, and there's no go with the flow, right? So for them to really let their hair down, that's a big feat. So keep that in mind. Those are all the traits of the Queen of Pentacles. So when you see this in the reverse, in a reading for people that maybe aren't those astrological signs, you want to say, are you spending too much? It's time to hold on. Or if they're not spending anything at all, it's time for them to buy themselves a treat. Okay. Now, King of Pentacles. This guy, he works hard, very hard indeed. They have built their castle and will defend it to no end. They like their home. They feel best when they know that their foundation is secure. They're friendly enough. They're generally speaking very quiet, tight-lipped. They don't share their feelings, oftentimes with even the people very closest to them. They're practical. They take immense pride in his work. And as lovers, when they give you their heart, they mean it for the long haul. And they're happiest in a committed relationship, whether or not they tell their girlfriend or wife. They're proud of their home and their family, and they're reliable and trustworthy. So he can keep a secret far better than those Page of Swords, right? And they don't like to rely on anybody for anything. When reversed, we have a cheapskate on our hands, so cheap indeed that they will cheat you out of money. And the resistance to change. So, you know, this is where the similarities come in, right? The resistance to change and bad moods, they can fly off the handle, can affect everybody around them. So if they get into a bad mood, they keep it. They have that cloud over top of them. They can be selfish, extremely difficult, and very mean. So this isn't all of those Taurus and Capricorn and Virgos, right? But it is when it's reversed, when they're not thinking clearly, when they haven't been in their element of the outdoors, when they haven't taken that time to connect to nature, this is what can happen, right? So be wary of that. The other thing that I'd like to say about Capricorns, because some of them, although they like to be in relationships, there's a few Capricorns out there that will say, you're not my girlfriend, or you're not my boyfriend, blah, 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 but they do not like to be alone. So if you are dating one of those people, they are either usually you're my girlfriend right away, or you are not my girlfriend. So keep that in mind when doing the readings too. And the thing is these people are actually quite controlling, and they like things their way, right? So if you kind of want a father figure in your life, in a relationship, this is what you will be seeking. The other thing is that if you don't want that, then it's probably best to go on to a different sign / suit. So, now, okay. We have now the Page of Pentacles. So the Page of Pentacles is a very young lady and very crafty in many ways. Remember, she's turning into the Queen of Pentacles. She's a budding entrepreneur, or always one of those teens that manages to save while going to school. She's concerned with money, and she likes nice things, right? The Page of Pentacles is a lifelong learner. So they are one of those girls that loves to participate in classes. They usually do the best out of anybody because they like that structure, and they like to participate in classes and workshops. They're people that like to do things with their hands, so a little bit creative with the baking, cooking, stuff like that. And as she's a page, I often think of she's holding the gift of transforming your money. There's a butterfly there. There is that ordained pentacle with growth on it. So in order to grow, you got to get outside. And so if it's not a daughter, friend, girlfriend, etc., it represents a message of transforming on the money or health front, right? This is when you got to use your gut and say, oh, there's a transformation of money coming for you. Keep up the good work, right? In reverse, the cheap thing again, right? It's the running theme with the Pentacle people, because they're so concerned with that, is that whenever it comes up in reverse, it's always about the money aspect, right? This is also a person that just doesn't want to do anything without getting paid for it. If it's not worth it to them in the long run for some sort of benefit, they won't do it. They're very, very concerned with the bottom line. So think of a teenager that you say, a teenage girl that you clean your room. What's in it for me? They always say back, you know, like, and don't expect to see this girl at a fundraiser unless you buy the ticket for her. Because they're not that giving in the reverse. In the upright, they are generous and almost to a fault, okay? So let's go on to, now we've got, let's go on to Knight of Pentacles. This young man, I often think of him as he moves as slow as a snail, but he is making his way to you. He is reliable, dependable, logical. He is to the book. He will deliver that package of health and money, no matter what or how long it takes him. This is a young man that is a jack of all trades, even at a young age. He likes to help out around the house, learn from dad or mom, and very, very organized. This is one of those kids that, think of a teenager that actually alphabetizes his book collection. He's one of those. Or if you think of a 20-something male that actually has already gotten his own house, and he's got a garage, and he likes to fix things, because they're fixers as well. The Pentacle guys, they are good with their hands. They're like mechanics. They build stuff. Good carpenters. They like to go to flea markets, save money, and refurbish things and then sell them to make that extra cash, right? So they're a little bit of budding entrepreneurs as well. They like to be super organized, so, you know, those worker dudes, they would have their jars of their certain size screws all together, each kind of different nail, all their tools would be laid out professionally, you know, etc., etc. He is thinking about his future. He likes to save, and this is actually my brother. So he's a Taurus, and he's a jack of all trades. He's very handy dandy. He's saving for his house. He's a lot younger than me, and he's doing all the right choices because he's been making his choices slowly and with great foresight for the future, right? So they would rather, usually speaking, stay at home and read a book, you know, or then go out and party, because you know what? They don't like to part with their money. They like to keep it in the bank where it's safe, where things are secure, and they only spend things when they feel it's time for them to do so. So they don't move quick, and in slow and steady progress, they make the right choices, which is very admirable in young men that are of that age, right? In reverse, again, you guessed it, cheapo, El Cheapo again. So he will not go out and do anything because he doesn't think it's worth it. He'd rather stay at home and read his book that he's alphabetized. The other thing too is like, sometimes they're so organized, these guys, but the other times they are extremely, extremely messy. So there's both ends of the spectrum on that one as well. The Knight of Pentacles, yeah, so they can be overly organized to the point where everything's labeled, and they can't stand it if someone else touches their things, right? They may throw a fit if you do. I know that my brother, for example, there's very few people that can go into his room. I'm lucky enough to be one of them. If somebody walks into his room, he goes, "This is my room, get out." So, you know, but we have a special connection. So, that's about it. So I'm going to just wrap this up really quick here. For your homework, we have all these court cards here. So, if you can, so what I want you to do is take your court cards. I would start with just these two suits to start off with. So if you can, take out, like, you know, how does the Knight of Swords relate to the slow and steady? The fast moving relate to the slow and steady guy? What kind of friendship would these guys have? Or would they even have it? Or would they be at odds with each other? What about if this is reversed? So play around with all the different people, right? So if you think of, let's put me and my brother together, which I find funny, really funny too, because when I find that I have good relationships with people, we're facing each other. See, I'm the Queen of Swords, he's the Knight of Pentacles. We're facing each other. We make a connection. We're very close together. So keep that in mind. What if I was like this in the reverse? Would he be in a bad mood and throw a fit too? My guess is he would. So, and what kind of relationship would the Queen of Pentacles and the Queen of Swords have, right? Put these together, put them in different situations, move them around, reverse it. See, come up with different situations, work, home, stuff like that, right? So, like, this is me and my stepmother, right?